All right, a news just coming in. The United States has expelled 60 Russian diplomats in response to the UK spy poisoning case. The White House has issued a statement saying it has also decided to shut down the Seattle consulate in response to the spy poisoning case. In a coordinated response, Germany, Poland and Lithuania also have decided to expel Russian diplomats. This is news just breaking here on WION this moment. The US has expelled 60 Russian diplomats. All right, for more of this story, I'm now joined by Palki Sharma Upadhyay from the WION newsroom. Good evening, Palki. First the UK and now the US.
Yes, and while the US president himself has not personally raised this issue, in fact, against the advice of his team, he called up President Putin last week, congratulating him on his re-election, but not touching upon the subject. The US administration has been speaking on this, and this, Ramesh, I can tell you, this expulsion of 60 diplomats is the most sweeping since the Reagan administration ordered 55 diplomats out of the country in 1986. They're also looking at shutting down a consulate in Seattle. 12 Russian diplomats who work at the United Nations General Assembly and 48 others at the Russian embassy in Washington are going to be asked to leave. That is what the US administration has decided, but the president himself has looked at fostering warm ties with President Putin of Russia. So this is a dichotomy, if you may, between what the US administration is doing and what the president is trying, the message that he's trying to give out. But this is the strongest response from the US administration since the March 4th nerve agent attack, and other European nations are expected to follow suit.
Indeed, so the battle lines are clearly drawn. The UK, now the US, Germany, Lithuania, Poland, all have joined hands against Russia. If I can quickly come back to you one more time, Palki, you hinted to Trump being soft or relatively soft on Putin and Russia. What is one to make of this decision by the US administration? Is it the administration talking, or Trump, or both?
One would assume that the administration cannot take steps without keeping the president on board or in the loop. So you could say that the president is on the same page as the administration, but the president, who's known for his tweets, who's known for his outbursts, who's known for not holding back his punches, has not made a single statement about this nerve agent attack. In fact, I can quote from a senior US administration official. He says, "To the Russian government, we say, when you attack our friend, you will face serious consequences. As we have continually stressed to Moscow, the door to dialogue is open." But he said that Russia must cease its recklessly aggressive behavior. The message that all these countries are trying to send out is that such actions cannot go without a response from them, which is why they are looking at expelling diplomats. Russia is looking at a tit-for-tat response. Russia in the past has said that they are the scapegoats of the world and they're ready to cooperate in the investigation. But at the same time, Russia also is looking at expelling diplomats from these countries. So many in the British press, Ramesh, you would have noticed, have called it the second Cold War. Some even going on to say that this may be the precursor to the Third World War, though that, I assume, is exaggerated.
Indeed, Cold War 2.0, as they say. But one last time, Palki, we'll stay on this story for the moment. Now, we have two new faces in Washington. One is Mike Pompeo in the State Department and John Bolton as the NSA of President Trump. Are we to see this as a new policy, so to speak, on the part of the US administration towards Russia, given the fact that we have two hawks in Washington, namely Mike Pompeo and John Bolton?
Well, that could be one way of looking at it. And as you said, they're hawks. We've seen what Mr. Bolton stood for in 2003 and how the Iraq war, many say, was thanks to his efforts in the Bush administration then. So that is a possibility. But the US administration has been taking a tough stand against Russia from the word go. It's only the president who's not spoken up. And that is something that has not gone unnoticed. But Washington has said that the UK remains our friend. And when you attack a friend, we are going to close ranks with the friend and retaliate accordingly. And Theresa May took a very, very tough line, and everyone else has backed her. So to that extent, Washington has maintained that line, and this wasn't completely a bolt from the blue, if you will.
Indeed, and as can only be expected, Russia will retaliate in equal measure going forward. That's one thing one can be certain about. But just to recap for the benefit of viewers who might just be tuning in about the news breaking this moment on WION, the US has expelled 60 Russian diplomats in response to the UK spy poisoning case. The White House has issued a statement saying it has also decided to shut down the Seattle consulate in response to the spy poisoning case. In a coordinated response, Germany, Poland and Lithuania also have decided to expel Russian diplomats. That's the big news breaking here on WION this moment. Right, so just to recap for the benefit of viewers who might just be tuning in, the US has expelled 60 Russian diplomats in response to the UK spy poisoning case. The White House has issued a statement saying it has also decided to shut down the Seattle consulate in response to the spy poisoning case. As I mentioned, in a coordinated response, Germany, Poland and Lithuania also have decided to expel Russian diplomats from their respective countries. All right, just to go back to my colleague Palki, who is standing by in the WION newsroom. Palki, you mentioned about a Cold War 2.0 taking shape before our very own eyes. How might this pan out given the frictions between Washington and Moscow in the last few weeks and more?
Well, you have to look at a lot of factors, Ramesh, as you would appreciate. Britain is also going through the very difficult process of Brexit, and many have said that while Theresa May has made all the right noises, she may not have the bandwidth to go the whole hog when it comes to taking up this diplomatic fight with Russia. Washington, too, has a lot of equations to balance. The Mueller investigation is going on at the same time, and this some critics say maybe an effort on Trump's part to show that he is taking a very neutral view when it comes to Russia, and he has nothing to hide, and he's taken no special favors from Vladimir Putin or his government, and so he's bound by no such favors to not act against Russia when the need arises, which is why 60 diplomats are being asked to leave. But what kind of impact this would have, and it's not just the US and the UK, 10 other European Union nations, including the ones that you pointed out, are going to be following suit. So what sort of impact does it have? Remember, a lot of European nations also buy oil from Russia. And they have to look at other interests. So while we've said from the very beginning that they are making the right noises, that they are trying to build pressure, when it comes to real action, we'll have to still wait and see, because Russia has gone ahead and done pretty much whatever it's liked, from West Asia to Crimea to other places, to other theaters of war, and had its way. So how much has the West really measured up to what they've said is something that is being looked at very closely now.
Indeed, that's news breaking here on WION this moment. The US deciding to expel 60 Russian diplomats and shutting down the Seattle consulate, along with Germany, Lithuania and Poland also expelling the Russian diplomats from their respective countries. On that note, Palki, thank you so much for joining me with all that update.